people are used to listen to conservation on a piece-by-piece basis. So people understand bird monitoring. They do get that we are counting birds and doing that. They also get that we're doing hunting regulations and harvesting. And some people know that we are doing the banding and all of that. But how are bird populations and bird habitat being managed? This is more complicated, and I think there's actually there's probably room there to improve the understanding of the public on how all these things fit together. That for species at risk, we have a Species at Risk Act. We have habitat for protection of habitat. We have joint ventures. We have groups like Ducks Unlimited that protects wetlands, and we manage that. But all of these activities are really all doing conservation. It's not a coincidence that all these activities take place. And even though they might seem like independent activities, they are not. These things are all tied together.
It took a while for us to finally see it, but Andre was right. As important as monitoring and research are, on their own, they're not conservation. At the same time, without them, you can't have conservation. Given the importance of monitoring and research in the big picture, we kept struggling with the same question. If we're not involved with either of these practices, what role do we play?
In 1982, I was 21 years old and I worked my first summer out of Williams Lake, and at the end of the summer I went to the senior biologist at Ducks Unlimited up in the Williams Lake office, and I told him I really care about conservation. I want to have a career in that field. What should I do? And to my horror, the answer that he gave me said, like, Andre, if you want to do conservation, get involved with politics. That was not at all the answer that I wanted. So I said, like, hold on here. No, I want to be a field biologist.
Traditionally, we've worked within a fairly confined range of disciplines in order to achieve the objectives that we have. And I think more and more there's a realization that the solution, the conservation answers that we're going to need, and the path to conservation is really going to be achieved through all kinds of disciplines.
If you want to do conservation, you can do conservation in very unusual ways that don't require to be wildlife biologists. You can be involved with different social groups or working groups or conservation groups. You can do rehabilitation of animals, and you can basically be a politician, or you can run companies and have like philanthropy activities or stuff like that. There's a million ways that you can deal with conservation.
On the 1,500-kilometer drive back, we had plenty of opportunity to think about what we'd seen and heard. At 1 a.m, 11 days after our whirlwind trip began, we made it home. We'd thought that the plot of the story would be centered around our trip, and that our arrival in Vancouver was supposed to mark the end of it. Yet all of our footage, our interviews and recordings, our research and discussions, couldn't possibly tell the whole story. The characters weren't just the biologists, researchers, and students that we met along the way, and the setting reached far beyond the borders of British Columbia. We couldn't finish the story because it hadn't ended yet. We'd found a beginning. The Migratory Bird Treaty was an easy place to start, and we'd figured out that conservation was the key theme. But the story is ongoing. 100 years ago, conservation looked quite different. If there are truly a million ways to deal with it, then we all just need to pick one. If we do, imagine where we might be 100 years from now.